Hello, welcome to the strategy course. Now what we are going to be discussing is leadership. And this is now going into the company, within the company, to understand how to coordinate the strategy of a firm. So with this, what are the two topics that, or two broad topics that we are going to be discussing now? One is going to be leadership. What is the concept of leadership? And especially the story behind leadership, the difference between leadership and management. And how power plays a role into how the people at the top are able to basically enable the achievement of the strategy of a company by bringing people to work together towards that goal. The next thing is going to be types of leaders and trying to assess differences across individuals in leadership styles, and with this, the important concept of emotional intelligence, how we are going to manage ourselves and others so that we can eventually achieve our desired goals. So with this, let's start with leadership. Simple definition, the ability to socially, and this is important, it's a social story, influence others so that we can achieve a desired goal. What do leaders do in general? You set the goal and then you inspire others and then you coordinate so that others can basically enable you to achieve that. So this is a relatively broad understanding of leadership. It's not only about for-profit companies, non-for-profit companies, small groups of friends, families. It does apply to pretty much every type of social interaction among individuals. So with this important distinction now going into management, the difference between leadership and management. What is a leader? Somebody who is going to set the vision and basically bring people together. Who is going to be a manager? The one that is going to be pushing towards achievement of those goals. Yes, they seem similar, but it's basically how we do things that is going to be different. And for the most part, it's going to be a story of I'm going to provide, if you want, the drive, the example, the desire for others to follow versus I'm going to be the one who is going to be coordinating and pushing others to achieve something. So in essence, and this is an important distinction, but one in which we have to basically remember that, well, in some occasions, we can act as leaders within a small group or within a large organization and basically bring others towards our desired objective. In other occasions, I'm going to try to basically coordinate others' behavior so that we achieve the objective. You can have a mix. You can be more of a leader or more of a manager, and that's basically something that goes with your personality. How do we achieve these objectives that we desire? With the concept of power. And this is implicitly the resource dependence theory, which is something that is behind this story of leadership and management, and the notion of power. What is power? The ability of an individual, A, call it A, to influence the behavior of others, call it them B, or call them another individual, so that their behavior enables the first individual to achieve their goals, desires. Different types of power. It's not only the position, but there are, to some extent, 5 traditional positions, types of power. One of them is going to be legitimate. I'm your boss. There is a hierarchy, there is an authority, and therefore I can tell you because I am your boss to do something, and you are going to be doing what I'm telling you to do. There is also the referent, which is to some extent more related to the leadership. The first one may be more related to the management side, in which, yes, I don't have to be your boss. I may not have a position, but it is my internal charisma, my interpersonal skills that basically are going to drive you to basically work towards achievement of what I'm trying to accomplish. Then, of course, we have expertise. Are you going to do this? Of course, look, I know more than you do because I have all this experience, I have this expertise, I have all this training, and therefore I think that we should be doing this because I have this knowledge that you don't have. You are going to follow and try to basically accomplish that because you think that, look, you're the person who knows, I'm going to rely on your knowledge, and therefore I'm going to be following your advice. And then, of course, we have rewards and coercion, the carrot and the stick, in which, of course, I'm going to do this because if I achieve this, you have promised me that you are going to give me a particular reward, or I want to avoid a particular punishment, and therefore I'm going to do this so that I don't get this punishment. What's important about this is that as both leader and manager, so let's talk about managers in general, you can play with all these different sources of power. And the important thing is to recognize under which conditions I'm using my experience as the source of powers, and under which conditions am I going to use a reward or the punishment or my position or authority, or I'm going to be using my interpersonal skills so that I basically guide others towards the achievement of what I think are the desirable objectives. So let's now continue with this understanding of power. And now we are moving into the organization. And what do leaders do within the organization? They set the broader desires, the broader goals. And within this, we have some type of, if you want, hierarchy. The broadest one, the mission. Why do we exist as an organization? Why is it that we have this particular company? Why should be here? And what we're trying to achieve? Okay, this is what we're trying to achieve. How basically do we want the future to be? What is our vision for the future? If we happen to have everything that we want to do, what will be the end result in the future? How are we going to basically justify that we have created value for, if you want, in general society? And then the values, how do we achieve this? What is going to drive our decisions? What is going to be the corporate culture, which we will see later? And that is going to guide our behavior. And then the lower level, the strategy, which is what we have been discussing throughout all these lectures, in which we are talking about setting particular goals, setting the means to achieve them, and basically making sure that I'm going to accomplish them. And then, of course, once we have set all of this, am I being able to implement my desires, and then can I basically monitor so that everybody is working towards the desired goal. So within this different, if you want, broader goals that leaders, and this is the important notion of leadership, are going to set for the organization so that everybody more or less follows towards a desired objective. So examples, let's get into, if you want, two different ways of bringing people together towards this desired objective, motivational and strategic. Motivational, you're basically trying to appeal to the heart, you're providing energy, this is why we want to do things, versus more on the strategic, this is the more, if you want, rational, you're appealing to the head, this is the direction, this is where we want, this is what we want to achieve. A few examples and that are easily available. These are organizations, and this is what they say. Some of these missions are going to be more on the motivational. It's to some extent more abstract, but there is kind of this big desirable, this really nice thing that is going to happen. Others are much more strategic. This is really a narrow story. This is what we do, what we are trying to achieve. And of course, there is always the mix that you can include, in which you can both appeal to the heart and also basically provide something that is much more rational, much more achievable, much more measurable. So these are general concepts of leadership. Of course, the next thing is, well, types of leadership. And this is now the big concept that we need to start thinking about is emotional intelligence, which links back to the idea that, well, I'm going to be setting all these motivations. I'm going to be providing a guidance for others so that we can achieve this desirable objective. How do I achieve this? How do I interact with others to enable me to guide others to this future through emotional intelligence? Can I manage myself first so that then I can manage others very effectively? So the steps to do. First thing, know yourself, self-awareness. What is it there? How do I behave? And why do I do things? What are my values? What are my expectations? How do I basically understand myself and what drives me? From there, how can I manage myself in my own interactions? Do I have self-control? Can I be trustworthy? Am I conscious of what is happening around me? Can I be flexible, adapt to the different requirements and interactions with others? Am I going to be setting achievements? And basically, I'm going to be setting a goal, and that eventually I have initiatives that enable me to reach those. This is the first step. Before managing others, do a self-assessment. How do you behave? What drives you? How do you basically manage yourself? And then start understanding the others. Social awareness. How do I understand others? How do I connect with others? What is my empathy? What is my ability to basically understand other people's emotions? Organization, what is organizational setting? How do things work around? Implicitly, there is a story of politics here, internal politics, not government politics. And then what is it that we're trying to achieve? What is within the organization the ultimate goal? And then my social skills, which now link to the discussion of leadership. Can I provide a vision? Can I influence others? How do I manage others? How can I develop others as well? How I communicate and can change things? And then how do I deal with conflict within the organization? It's not only, yes, let's go for this, but of course there is going to be some clash. How can I solve those issues so that nothing basically breaks in terms of relationships? And then I build relationships and within people in the organization, and then build a team and collaboration that enables everybody be working together to achieve the desired objective. So different styles of leaders, which are basically going to be not necessarily good or bad in a sense, but this is part of the story of emotional intelligence, trying to understand how do I behave, how do I basically communicate, interact with others so that I ask them to achieve a goal. I can be coercive, and then I basically can demand others to do things. I can tell them what to do. Yes, it might be good in certain conditions. There is a crisis, and hope we have to go and do it. But it might elicit some negative reaction from the people that are being told what to do, and of course, use it when the situation is needed. I can be authoritative, and now this is linking to the story of power. Well, I'm going to basically, I have a vision, come with me. I'm going to be pulling people with me. Yes, there is this self-confidence is going to be good. There is a vision. There is a story of providing this common goal for everybody. And it can be really nice. It can bring people, it can be positive feelings. Of course, the vision might not be the one that is needed. There is always pros and cons for all of them. Affiliative, this is mostly a story of getting together, team building and things like this. You have to be aware of what is happening with others. You have to interact with others. You have to build the relationships. It can be really good for building a really nice corporate culture within the team, within the organization. That elicits some lots of positive feelings about it. At the same time, the question becomes, well, is this leading towards achievement of a goal, or is it just going to be, we are going to help each other and we are not going to bring big, difficult questions to the team? Democratic, what other people think. Participative, everybody's trying to achieve consensus. It's really good. It's really nice for collaboration. It's very positive in terms of the impact on the corporate culture within the organization. And the idea is bringing everybody's ideas into the decision making. Of course, there is always a limitation that if you are always trying to build this consensus, it might not lead to a particular a good outcome because it's slow, and in some cases, what the majority may be thinking might not necessarily be what is needed for that particular decision. And of course, there is the pace setting. Do as I do, and the example, I'm going to basically be bringing people after me because I'm working really hard. It's really nice. It can be very effective in getting results, of course. At the same time, it can elicit some negative feelings among employees. And then the coaching, You are somebody who knows and tries to basically bring people together. I'm going to help you develop yourself. I'm going to have all this self-awareness and connection with you. This is going to be a positive relationship, of course, more long-term story. So which one is good, which one is bad? Of course, it depends. It depends on the conditions. All of them have pros and cons. And the idea here about leadership types is to basically understand them. And this is why this is connected with emotional intelligence, and understand yourself, understand others, understand the situation, and then use the style that basically fits the particular needs. This was one type of leadership assessments. There are many others. So it's not one that is basically the best one. And these are other alternatives. And these are some links that can be used to basically do a very extremely simplified personal assessment of your own leadership characteristics so that you get a better sense of how are you, so that you basically build your emotional intelligence that can help you become a better leader down the road. So with this, what's the story about leadership? Leadership is social influence. We have a goal, I think, that I'd like to achieve. I'm going to bring others so that we can achieve that goal as an organization, as a team, as a group of individuals. The underlying story is power, and different types of power, different sources of power. Understand them so that you can build on each of them depending on the situation. It is legitimate power, is the authority. I am a referent, is my charisma. I am an expert. I have all this knowledge. I can provide rewards, or I can provide punishment so that people are brought and towards achievement of the goal. What do I do as a leader? Establishing the broader goals with this hierarchy, the mission, the vision, the values, and the strategy. All of them one after the other. And the question is then understanding myself so that I can manage the organization better. And this is the type of leadership, emotional intelligence. First thing is self-awareness, lots of internal analysis, then managing myself as an individual so that then I can start thinking about what is happening with others, what is happening in the organization, the social awareness, and eventually develop the social skills that enable me not only to manage myself, but also to manage others so that we can achieve the desired goals. Then different types depending on the situation. And also, a lot of this has to do depending on the personality. So we are, in many cases, if we do this analysis, we're going to see that we have certain tendencies towards a particular type rather than others: coercive, authoritative, affiliative, democratic, pace-setting, or coaching. And the big idea here is big goal. What is the objective? How do we manage others? How do we manage ourselves so that we can achieve the desired future? That's all. Thank you very much.